Hi everyone, and a huge warm welcome to World Ocean Day and this World Ocean Day for Schools live lesson. My name's Anna and I work for Blue Marine Foundation. Today we're going to be hearing about how we can protect the big blue. The theme of this year's World Ocean Day for Schools is how we can protect our blue spaces wherever they may be. Some people live close to the coast and others live further away. But wherever you are, all water is connected to the ocean. So protecting a small pond or a river near you is helping the ocean in the end. Now in just a minute, we're going to have a presentation from myself and my colleagues Sophie and Freddie to talk to you about how important the ocean is and what we must do to protect it. Now for any schools that have submitted shout outs, those will be coming on later in the Q&A session towards the end of this live lesson. And please do ask lots of questions for the Q&A. We can't wait to hear from you, and you can put those in the little box on the side of this video. Now grab your worksheets and let's dive in to learn more about protecting our blue. I think the best way to kick off this lesson and to introduce Blue Marine is to watch this short video. We're a charity dedicated to restoring ocean health. We're based in the UK with our main offices in London, but we have projects and people all over the world. Today you'll be hearing from me in Edinburgh and my colleagues are in London and in Jersey. So without further ado, we will play this short video to introduce ourselves.
The ocean, vast and beautiful, is the lifeblood of the planet. But the ocean is under threat. Climate change, acidification, and all kinds of pollution are threatening the health of the ocean. But most damaging of all, industrial-scale overfishing is stripping the ocean of life. And it's that life which enables the ocean to provide half our oxygen, absorb more CO2 than the rainforests, and regulate our climate. Blue Marine is working every day, all over the world, to protect and restore life in the ocean. We would like to see at least 30% of the world's ocean placed under meaningful protection by 2030. We've already contributed to the protection of almost 4 million square kilometres of ocean, mainly around the UK overseas territories. In Ascension Island, we've helped secure a huge new no-take marine reserve. An area nearly the size of France in the heavily fished mid-Atlantic is now completely closed to fishing. We've established a conservation trust fund, which ensures that Ascension's new protected status also benefits the island's community. But we want to see the other 70% of the ocean much better managed. Through Blue investigations, we're uncovering horrific examples of overfishing and bringing this to the attention of policymakers and the general public. Meanwhile, we're supporting examples of low-impact fishing, showing how genuinely sustainable fishing is better for marine life and the local communities that depend on it. But in some places, marine life is so depleted that we need to give nature a helping hand. Actively restoring marine habitats really does work in bringing marine ecosystems back to full health. We're rewilding the sea by restoring oyster reefs, putting hundreds of thousands of these keystone creatures back into the sea. And we're restoring vital blue carbon habitats, including salt marshes and seagrass meadows. We want to inspire the younger generation with our spectacular underwater world and its importance to all of us. Our new digital platform, The Sea We Breathe, helps people visualize thriving blue carbon habitats, the importance of marine protected areas, and the impact of overfishing on entire ecosystems. Narrated by Stephen Fry, this interactive underwater world brings to life the link between the ocean and our climate. Blue Marine has achieved a huge amount in the last 12 years. With your help, we can do much more. The ocean's health affects every one of us. We must protect the ocean to secure our future.
Now, hopefully that video has given you a little bit of useful background and introduced what we do here at Blue Marine. But to really understand why 30% of the ocean needs to be protected by 2030, we need to understand what the oceans do for us. Now, of course, the oceans contain amazing marine life, everything from tiny colourful nudibranchs right up to enormous whale sharks, and pretty much anything you can imagine in between. And I think that that alone is worth protecting. If you need a little convincing, how about this? The ocean is actually responsible for 50% or more of the oxygen that we breathe. Yep, 50%, half. So for every 10 breaths that we take, at least 5 of them contain oxygen from the ocean. Now I want you all to take a really deep breath in and think about how crazy it is that of all the oxygen in there, half of it, or at least half of it, has come from the ocean. Now, it hasn't actually come out of the water itself. It's come from plants that live in the ocean, mostly something called phytoplankton. These are a really abundant and really tiny plant that photosynthesize using light from the sun and produce the oxygen that we can then breathe. And the oceans are also important due to another gas, but this time it's not such a helpful gas. It's a gas that's causing humans some problems at the moment. I'm going to give you 5 seconds as a class to have a little brainstorm and shout out what you think this gas might be. Okay, time's up, and I imagine a lot of you will have got this right. It's carbon dioxide, or CO2. And you've probably all heard a fair bit about CO2, and you know that it's important in keeping our planet warm, and it's also essential for all plants on Earth. However, we currently have too much CO2 in the atmosphere because we've been burning so many fossil fuels. And scientists have recently found that the ocean might absorb between 1/4 and half of all the CO2 that's been produced by humans. So without the ocean, the extreme temperatures and the crazy weather patterns that we've been seeing across the world would actually be much, much worse. Another reason that the ocean is so important is because it provides us with lots of our food. So who here likes to eat fish? Maybe something like fish and chips or a fish finger sandwich? Or maybe we've got some adventurous eaters among us who like things like oysters and mussels. So fish is tasty, but there are 3 billion people around the world who rely on it to survive. It's essential protein in their diets. 3 billion people. And to catch all this fish, we need people to catch it. So lots of people get their jobs in fishing. In fact, 60 million people around the world are employed in a fishery or in a farm that grows fish. And many of these people know how to take fish sustainably, and they know how to leave enough for future generations to thrive and for marine life to survive and for populations to be healthy. I think it's also important to mention today that the ocean is also important as it keeps us happy and healthy. It's been proven by scientists that living close to or visiting the coast is really good for our mental health. It's helpful in reducing stress, restoring brain function, and making us happier and connecting us to friends and family. Most of all, visiting the ocean is proving to be very calming. So if you're ever feeling a bit stressed or a bit tense, maybe you've got a test coming up, you should take a trip to the beach and it's likely to make you feel a little bit better. We've now seen why our oceans are so important, but unfortunately the oceans are also under threat. As I mentioned a minute ago, a lot of people on this planet do fish sustainably. However, industrial overfishing by just a few very greedy people and companies has led to 85% of all fish stocks being either fished to their maximum or being overfished, which means they're declining. In fact, 90% of big predatory fish and sharks have already vanished from Earth. To us at Blue Marine, this is incredibly sad. We want to protect the big blue to ensure that all marine creatures have a safe future and that the livelihoods of people who depend on these fish also have a safe future. As well as overfishing, pollution is a huge issue facing our ocean. Now, you'll have all heard a lot about plastic pollution. Of course, we've heard about this through amazing TV shows like Blue Planet 2. But we also have pollution in other forms. For example, pollution that enters the ocean through farming or through industry. We also have noise pollution, which can have a huge impact on animals like whales and dolphins that communicate via sound. They find it very confusing and often can starve because they can't find any food anymore. The warming temperatures that we're experiencing are pretty terrible for our oceans too. As the atmosphere heats up due to all this extra CO2 that we mentioned, the seawater warms up too. This can cause melting of ice caps, bleaching of corals, and mass migrations of fish to get out of the heat. And this all seems pretty doom and gloom, so I'm going to quickly head over to my colleague Sophie and she's going to introduce some of the solutions.
Thanks, Anna. I'm Sophie. I'm the Research and Projects Manager here at Blue Marine. We at Blue Marine are determined to fight these problems by protecting 30% of the ocean by 2030, which is coming up very soon. The oceans can be protected in several different ways, and which one is suitable will depend on the location and the needs of the species and the people involved. Protecting the ocean is a lot more challenging than protecting the land in some cases. And this is because that ocean has that extra dimension. Not only do we have the surface of the ocean, like we have obviously the surface of the land, but we've got this big distance between the surface and the seafloor to consider too. So take a look at your 1 kilometre square diagram, which should be labelled 5A. So this means that protecting 1 square kilometre of the ocean is much, much more than just protecting 1 square kilometre of the land surface. Again, you have to consider the depth in between the surface and the seabed. In addition, some of the ocean is pretty tricky to figure out who owns it, whereas on land, most of the area is owned by someone, so they have responsibility over caring for it. That could be a local farmer or maybe your local park ranger and authorities, and could really differ. Whereas the coastal waters of each country, they're generally owned by that country. And once you get beyond those coastal waters, you can start entering what we know as the high seas or areas beyond national jurisdiction, a vast, unexplored and uncovered wilderness that's home to some of the most fantastic and valuable marine life on Earth. And there's also one very important reason that protecting the ocean is a bit challenging, and that's that sea creatures, many marine creatures, can swim and travel very long distances across thousands of miles of open ocean. So how on earth can you protect these moving animals? You can't exactly fill the ocean with giant fences. So this is why we need to protect lots of different areas that all interconnect. In other words, creating a network. So Blue Marine, we're working really hard to create marine protected areas, or what we call for short MPAs, as a way of protecting our ocean. And what makes a good MPA? So now that we're going to discuss what makes a good MPA, which remember, this stands for Marine Protected Area, there's no strict formula to make the perfect MPA. It really, again, depends on that location, on the people and the species present within that area. Blue Marine have been helping to create MPAs for more than 10 years now, and we want to share some tips and tricks with you today. First of all, it's a really good idea to know what's there. So look at the data, maybe do some surveys and record the species that you find. You might already have this data and you might be choosing the area to protect because a particularly important or endangered species or habitat is present. The next thing you might want to think about is mapping out the uses of the area. So where do people go fishing? Where do ships tend to pass through? You might need to think about people who live close to the coast and what impact they might have on the ocean, but also what impact a marine protected area might have on them. So now we need to talk to all the stakeholders, and stakeholders is just another word for all the people who are involved or interested. And the more people you talk to, the more bright ideas you'll tend to come across. And we definitely know that working together usually comes out with the best results. And now it's time to decide on your MPA boundaries. We know that bigger is definitely better, as more species and habitats can be protected by a larger area. That's not to say that small MPAs, correctly placed, can also be really useful. So, for example, a small area where thousands of groupers come to spawn has recently been protected in the Maldives. And this tiny little patch is absolutely critical for these groupers, so it's really important to protect. We should also think about connecting MPAs together. So this comes back to the network idea I mentioned earlier. So how close is this new MPA to other existing MPAs? Because we know that it's great if migrating species, for example, so species with large home ranges that can travel, it's great if they can travel between multiple MPAs, those protected areas, so their entire journey is protected. Once you and the stakeholders have decided where to draw the MPA boundaries, you need to make sure that everyone follows the rules. So how do you enforce these rules? Some MPAs have patrol boats, others have laws which must be followed, or they give out fines. And often when the benefits of protecting the big blue are made clear, people choose to follow these rules anyway in order to help marine life and also benefit themselves. Different MPAs have different degrees of protection too. So some are very strict and they allow no fishing whatsoever, and they also limit other damaging activities. And these marine protected areas which allow no fishing at all and limit those activities, they're called no-take zones, or NTZs for short. And these are some of the highest levels of protection possible. So they provide really great chances for marine populations to rebound and thrive and recover. Other MPAs might allow some fishing as long as it's sustainable, for example. And sustainable fishing generally occurs on a smaller scale. It doesn't use fishing gear which damages the seabed or key habitats. So after this live lesson, turn over your worksheet and have a go at designing your own marine protected area, your own MPA. There's some questions to consider and then some space to draw. But for now, I'm going to pass you over to Freddie about a new NTZ, a new no-take zone near where he's located in Portlet Bay, Jersey.
Hi everyone, my name is Freddie and I work on Blue Marine's project in Jersey. As Sophie said, I'm based over here in Jersey and I'm going to talk to you today about a special place called Portlet Bay. This bay is home to some incredible marine life, and thanks to the Jersey government and an organisation called the Société Jersiaise, it now has the highest level of marine protection, known as a no-take zone, or an NTZ. Here you can find colourful fish, kelp forests, and even sharks. Yes, that's right, we do have sharks in the UK. These ones in particular are called cat sharks, sometimes known as dogfish. And they're quite small with grey spotty skin, rarely reaching over 1 metre long. Not to worry though, they are very, very friendly. I think my favourite animals though are the dazzling anemones. We have 4 types in Portlet Bay: snakelock, beadlet, dahlia and strawberry. Here at Blue Marine, we recently created a snorkel trail in Portlet Bay. There are 4 sites you can explore for the best chance to see these amazing underwater animals and habitats. We actually named the 4 snorkel sites after the 4 species of anemone that we have there. Due to the no-take zone, no fishing or extractive activity is allowed in this small bay. So all these animals are protected. We hope that this will promote species recovery, biodiversity, and help scientists monitor the impacts of climate change on our oceans. We are also working with fishermen to make sure that they don't lose out and that they can still fish sustainably in the waters around Jersey. To finish off this live lesson, we have a short video to show you about the snorkel trail, and then we will have time for a quick Q&A. So thank you very much to everyone for listening, and I hope you enjoy the video.
I really love the seaside. Mum and Dad finally took us to the new Snorkel Trail today. I've been waiting for so long. The Snorkel Trail is at this little secret beach called Portlet Bay. The sand felt really soft under my feet, but actually I just wanted to get in the sea. I would say it felt like I was in another world. There were massive underwater trees that went right down to the bottom like an underwater forest. Me and my dad pretended to be fishes and swam down through them. There were brown things that looked like slugs and crabs that looked like big red spiders with long legs and anemones dancing in the water back and forth, back and forth. My favourite was the big fish with all the colours of the rainbow. Oh, and the little one on the rock that played hide and seek with me. I had no idea there was so much to see underwater here. It makes me very happy to know all the animals will be safe here. I think it might just be my favourite place forever.